You awaken to the clinking of chains. In the pitch black, the stone beneath your body feels so cold it almost burns, and when you try to move, iron cuffs bite painfully into your wrists. You are no longer in the hillside village where you once ran after goats and helped your mother grind grain. That life ended 3 days ago when slavers swept through your home like a swarm of locusts, selecting their victims with practiced precision. Your name was Kyle, a simple Celtic name given by your father after his own father, but that name vanished the moment rough hands pulled you away from your family's hut. Subscribe so you'll never miss the stories the textbooks leave out. Now you are considered property, an asset to be appraised and sold. The man inspecting you speaks Latin in sharp, professional tones. He runs his fingers through your hair as if assessing the quality of silk, lifts your chin, and studies your bone structure by the flickering torchlight. "This one will do well," he says to his companion, a Greek man with shrewd eyes who nods and records notes on a wax tablet. Celtic origin always commands high prices. Look at that golden hair and how young he is. Perfect for training, they say. You don't grasp every word, but you recognize the tone. It's the same way your father once sold livestock at the market, the same judgment of worth and potential. Only now, you are the livestock, and the market is the unquenchable hunger of Rome. For beauty that can be possessed, controlled, and consumed, the journey to Rome becomes a haunting ordeal, filled with cramped wagons, scarce food, and the constant company of other children enduring the same fate. Some wail endlessly, while others withdraw so deeply into silence that they seem lifeless despite breathing. A few, those who instill the most fear, have already started adapting by picking up Latin phrases from the guards and attempting to win favor through small acts of submission. However, the true nightmare unfolds once you arrive at the slave markets of Rome. This chaos is nothing like the disorderly scene you imagined. Instead, it is orderly, methodical, and highly efficient. The markets trading what Romans call delicati, or delicate ones, function with the exactness of a military operation and the refined taste of an art exhibit. Before we delve into these forgotten tales of endurance and anguish, if you appreciate uncovering hidden chapters of history, consider tapping that like button and subscribing for more content like this. Please drop a comment below to share where you are joining from. It amazes me that we explore these ancient narratives together, scattered across the globe, yet united through our mutual fascination with what once was. Upon arrival, you are bathed and scrubbed until your skin glows a soft pink, then rubbed with scents that make you smell like blossoms never before seen. Your hair is cut and styled by a man whose hands move with practiced skill, as he has prepared countless boys for sale before you. They dress you in a plain white tunic that highlights your youth and purity. This outfit is carefully chosen to awaken certain desires in the potential buyers. The examination process is systematic and degrading. Prospective buyers circle around you like predators assessing their prey, talking about your strengths and weaknesses in tones that completely ignore your humanity. They check your teeth as though you were an animal, inspect your skin for imperfections, and measure the symmetry of your limbs with the meticulous care a sculptor might give to a block of marble. Some speak to you in broken Celtic, testing if you comprehend commands, while others are more intrigued by your emotional reactions, how you respond to touch, whether you recoil or yield, if tears come easily, or if you have already mastered hiding them. Marcus Lucas is ultimately the one who purchases you. He is in his 40s, somewhat soft around the waist from comfortable living, with sharp, observant eyes that miss nothing. He examines you with the precision of a connoisseur, running his hands over your arms and shoulders and tilting your face toward the light to study your features from different perspectives. When he speaks to the dealer, his voice carries the confident ease of someone used to acquiring whatever piques his interest. "How old is he?" he asks, even though he clearly has already made up his mind. 12, maybe 13, the dealer replies. Young enough to be trained properly, old enough to be appealing. Look at that bone structure. he will age gracefully for several years before you need to worry. The casual remark about your eventual fate strikes you like a tangible hit. You are not merely sold into servitude, you are sold into a system that has a predetermined expiration date. Your worth will inevitably diminish, and your usefulness will reach its conclusion. Yet even this awareness is overshadowed by a deeper comprehension of the role assigned to you. The transaction concludes with the same unremarkable efficiency as purchasing bread. Money exchanges hands, ownership documents are signed, and suddenly you belong to Marcus Lucas as thoroughly as his toga or footwear. He does not address you personally, for slaves do not deserve direct communication, but instead issues orders to a well-dressed elder man who will supervise your transfer to your new residence. The villa that will become your entire world surpasses anything you could have ever envisaged in your village life. Marble floors decorated with elaborate mosaics, walls painted with mythological scenes, gardens where rare plants emit scents that overwhelm your senses. However, this beauty turns ominous once you understand that it is meant to serve as the backdrop for your imprisonment. Every exquisite element is part of an intricate stage set where you will play a role you never chose. Your training commences without delay. The man in charge of your instruction is named Alexandros, a former favorite who has matured into a position of relative stability by becoming indispensable in managing Marcus Lucas's collection of beautiful boys. He is not unkind, yet his kindness feels distant, shaped by someone who has mastered survival through emotional detachment from those destined to be replaced. The master values sharp conversation, explaining as he outlines your daily agenda. You will immerse yourself in Greek philosophy, Roman poetry, basic mathematics, and musical training. Maintaining an attractive physique is essential, so you will manage your diet carefully and bathe twice a day, using oils that keep your skin smooth. Most importantly, you will master the art of posture and demeanor, learning when to lower your gaze, how to sit properly, and how to seem attentive without truly listening when the master speaks with his guests. Your lessons are thorough and demanding. Mornings are filled with language training, not only Latin and Greek, but also the nuanced shifts in tone and vocabulary tailored to different social classes. You discover special forms of address for senators compared to merchants, phrases that convey respect without submission, and gentle voice modulations that display intelligence without threatening the master's intellectual dominance. Afternoons focus on cultural education. You memorize extensive stretches of poetry, not purely for their beauty, though some are lovely, but because you may need to recite them to entertain your master. You study the mythology behind the artworks in the villa, learning how to engage in discussions about them with confidence. The symbolic meanings are presented with great care to avoid any interpretation that might make you appear overly intellectual. Independent music lessons take place next, revealing a small sanctuary. The instrument responds to your touch with sounds that momentarily lift you beyond the marble walls. For a brief time each day, you can immerse yourself in melodies that exist solely for their own beauty, without any other purpose. However, even this haven is compromised once you realize every song you practice is selected for its ability to please your master's ear during private moments. Physical conditioning is another essential aspect of your training, yet it differs greatly from any exercise you have experienced. There is no focus on building strength or stamina. Instead, every effort aims to preserve the delicate and androgynous grace your master admired. At the market, your diet is strictly regulated to prevent muscle growth that would signify your passage into manhood. Herbs are incorporated into your meals, oils are massaged into your skin, and treatments are given by specialists dedicated to maintaining youthful appearance. The psychological conditioning is more insidious and powerful than the physical training. Gradually and deliberately, your handlers dismantle your independent sense of self. Your original name is forbidden. Now you are called Ganymede, after the beautiful cupbearer of Zeus. Your memories of home are dismissed as meaningless illusions, and your past life is portrayed as nothing more than a dream. From the moment you awaken to your true reality, you are subtly taught that your worth as a person is entirely based on how well you can satisfy your master. Success is defined by maintaining youthfulness, beauty, and flawless obedience. Failure, on the other hand, brings not only punishment, but a complete loss of value. This harsh lesson is constantly reinforced through rewards when you comply, and through subtle yet undeniable threats when you resist. The other boys in the household become both friends and rivals. There is Alexis, a dark-eyed boy from Syria who arrived 6 months before you. He has mastered the system with impressive skill. He teaches you how to apply makeup to brighten your natural complexion, shows you exactly how your master prefers his wine mixed, and warns you about what questions to avoid and which topics are forbidden. Then there is Dionysos, a boy from Greece who has spent 3 years in the household. He moves through the villa silently like a shadow. Although he is strikingly beautiful, he seems detached, responding to orders with flawless obedience, but without any sign of a personal spark. The other boys quietly say, he is what happens when someone gives in entirely to the system. Still useful, still functional, but no longer fully human. Your first private summons arrives 3 weeks after you come. Alexandro devotes the entire day to preparing you, choosing the perfect tunic to highlight your slender figure and styling your hair so it catches the light from the lamp just right, gently applying barely noticeable makeup that enhances your youthful appearance without seeming artificial. He guides you on the correct etiquette, how to enter a room, where to position yourself, how to answer commands without appearing either eager or unwilling. Remember, he mentions as he finishes adjusting your look, you exist for my satisfaction. Your thoughts, emotions, and wishes are irrelevant. What truly counts is that you provide whatever I require right now. Sometimes that means engaging in conversation. Other times, offering silent presence or even more intimate attention. Your responsibility is to anticipate his desires and fulfill them before he has to request it. The journey down the corridor to your master's private room feels interminable, though it only spans a short distance. Your bare feet make no noise against the marble floor, yet your heart pounds so loudly you feel certain every inhabitant of the villa can hear it. The guards at the entrance step aside without acknowledgement. You are not important enough to earn their notice. Suddenly, you find yourself alone with the man who possesses you entirely. Marcus Lucas lounges on a couch draped in silk, a cup of wine in hand, scrolls scattered around revealing he has been reading. He has shed his official toga and now wears a simple tunic, but this casual attire does not weaken his authority. If anything, the closeness of the environment reinforces his dominance. Come here, boy, he commands without looking up from his scroll. His tone neither harsh nor gentle, simply firm. In fact, the manner he might use to summon a servant or to call a dog is striking. You step forward cautiously, uncertain about how near he wants you to come, stopping just outside the reach of his arms until he signals for you to approach. Turn around, he commands, and you obey, moving deliberately so he can scrutinize you from every angle. His eyes examine you with the same intensity he displayed at the slave market, noting the impact of weeks filled with careful grooming and rigorous training. When he nods in approval, a strange mix of relief and shame washes over you. You are thankful to have passed his inspection, yet horrified that your value depends on his aesthetic judgment. Alexandra's words reach me. You are learning quickly, he adds, setting his wine aside and giving you his undivided focus. Recite something for me, something Greek. I am in the mood for philosophy. You begin a passage from Plato's Symposium, selected because it is both beautiful and mastered perfectly in your memory. While you speak, you watch his expression, adjusting your tone depending on whether he shows contentment or displeasure. When he smiles faintly at a particularly elegant phrase, a wave of pride swells within you, but it quickly turns to revulsion. You realize you are beginning to find joy in his approval, exactly as the training intended. Lovely, he says when you finish. Your accent needs improvement, but that will come with time. Sit beside me, but not too close. I want to feel your warmth as I read. The next hour passes, enveloped in a peculiar closeness that feels unlike anything else. The similarity to any relationship you have experienced is uncanny. You remain completely still while he reads, occasionally running his fingers through your hair absent-mindedly, as if stroking a cherished pet. At times, he reads excerpts aloud, testing your understanding with questions that challenge both your intellect and your training. When your responses satisfy him, his touch grows more tender. However, if you fail to grasp something, his attention pulls away, and you soon find yourself fearing that withdrawal more than any physical punishment. This becomes the rhythm of your new life. Days consumed by training and preparation, evenings called upon to fulfill whatever companionship your master desires. Sometimes, this companionship takes the form of deep conversations about philosophy or poetry, where your role is to be engaged without ever contradicting him. Other times, it is purely decorative. You exist as a living ornament while he hosts guests, showcasing his refined taste and vast wealth. Occasionally, it becomes more intimate in ways your past life never prepared you for. You learn that your body, like your mind, is intended solely for his enjoyment. The elegant chamber, the costly education, and the meticulous grooming all form part of a system crafted to enhance your value as a possession. You are not a person who happens to be owned, but rather an object shaped precisely for his use. The psychological toll affects you far more deeply than any physical harm, leaving you confused about where your own identity ends and his control begins. Performance concludes and your identity begins. The gestures you have adopted to satisfy your master become instinctive. The interests he has nurtured within you start to seem authentic. Most unsettling of all, you find yourself genuinely caring for the man who has taken away your liberty and remolded you to fit his wishes. Other boys in the household have discovered various survival tactics. Kyle has turned into a skilled manipulator, playing with their master's emotions so expertly that he has secured a relatively safe position. He quietly shares secrets about handling their master's moods, subtle methods to encourage generosity, and strategies for maintaining value as physical attractiveness declines. During a rare, private conversation, he reveals the essential point is to make yourself indispensable for more than mere appearance. Learn the master's business ventures so you can offer valuable insights. Become proficient in running the household so he relies on your organizational skills, and develop connections with his important visitors so your social worth grows. Looks fade, but usefulness can endure for many years. Marcus Lucas embodies a contrasting survival method: total submission. He has erased his sense of self so completely that he no longer seems to harbor desires, fears, or hopes. He obeys commands flawlessly, performs whatever tasks are asked, and exists in a condition of absolute surrender, where resistance is literally unimaginable in some situations. He appears to show disdain, but what he feels is the calm of death rather than the joy of life. You attempt to discover a balanced path between Kyle's deliberate manipulation and Dionysus's self-destructive spirituality. You carry out your duties with expertise, yet strive to preserve a core of your identity that remains unaffected by your situation. This proves to be more challenging than you expected because the system is built to make resistance not only difficult, but beyond understanding, when every part of your existence hinges on earning your master's approval, and your self-worth has been reconstructed around that approval. Independent thinking becomes something unfamiliar. Months pass, then years, and your body begins to reveal the subtle signs of growing manhood. A voice deepening, which must be hidden through careful breathing, muscles developing that demand more extreme dietary restrictions, and facial hair that requires daily shaving. Each change provokes anxiety about your ongoing usefulness and value. The dynamics within the house transform as new boys arrive and older ones disappear. You observe the entire cycle, the fear of the newcomers, their gradual adjustment to the harsh reality, the strategic positioning for status and favor, and finally the unavoidable removal when youth can no longer be concealed. Some boys are sold to different households, others are released with small pensions, and a few disappear without any explanation. Throughout this, you form complicated bonds with your fellow captives where genuine friendship is intertwined with. Fierce rivalry exists alongside shared support among you. You live with the constant awareness that any one of you might be sacrificed to protect the other's status. You exchange survival tactics, alert each other to your master's shifting moods, and offer comfort during the unavoidable bouts of hopelessness. Yet beneath this solidarity, competition for approval remains, because being the chosen one guarantees better treatment and increased safety. The outside world remains distant and mostly irrelevant to your daily life. You catch snippets of news about wars, political shifts, and societal changes, but these seem almost mythical. Your world has shrunk to the villa's limits, and your concerns focus solely on surviving within that confined realm. Occasionally, flashes of your past life intrude unexpectedly. The scent of baking bread might awaken memories of your mother's kitchen, or a merchant's accent could remind you of your father's voice. These moments bring such overwhelming sorrow that you quickly push them aside, concentrating instead on the current reality that shapes your existence. Your master also ages, although more slowly and comfortably than his belongings. Gray strands appear in his hair, wrinkles form around his eyes, and his body grows sturdier with continued success. These changes do not undermine his authority or security. Rather, they seem to increase his dignity and social stature. Age bestows wisdom and respect upon him, while you remain caught in the struggle for survival. Only the impending conclusion of your usefulness brings about the awareness that your time is limited, which generates a peculiar urgency in your everyday life. Every successful act seems like a delay of the inevitable, and every sign of your master's ongoing approval becomes invaluable. You begin to appreciate small acts of kindness, a soft touch, a sincere conversation, or an extravagant gift, even though you realize these gestures demonstrate his attachment to a possession rather than acknowledgement of your humanity. Some boys collapse under this pressure, becoming increasingly frantic in their efforts to stay valuable. They volunteer for more humiliating duties, compete more ruthlessly with fellow captives, or simply break down completely from the strain of upholding an unattainable standard of flawlessness. Others, like you, adopt a sort of stoic acceptance, fulfilling your role with professional skill while attempting to maintain a fragment of dignity. The most cruel element of the system is how it forces victims to become accomplices in their own exploitation. You develop an ability to anticipate your master's desires, taking pride in your capacity to please, and you compete with other boys for the honor of serving. The training is so exhaustive that you absorb not only the behaviors, but also the values of your captors, assessing your worth by their measures, and finding your identity in their approval. Years of living this way produce a form of Stockholm Syndrome so thorough that it becomes an inseparable part of you. Freedom becomes not merely unattainable, but hard to even imagine when you occasionally hear accounts of slaves attempting to flee. Your initial feeling is not one of admiration, but confusion. Where could they possibly go? How would they endure? What identity might they claim beyond the roles they have been conditioned to assume? The system does not just confine your body, it invades your mind, turning any thought of life beyond captivity into something nearly impossible to conceive. Nevertheless, even within such an all-encompassing structure, small acts of rebellion still exist. You hold on to pieces of your native language, though you never speak them aloud. You safeguard memories of your family, despite seldom allowing yourself to recall them. Most critically, you keep the understanding that your current state is not your only possible self, even if imagining any real alternative seems beyond reach. When the end arrives, it carries the same cold efficiency that defined your entrance into this life. Your master's focus has shifted to acquiring younger slaves, and as you near physical adulthood, you have become less appropriate for the position you have occupied. There is no grand confrontation or emotional goodbye. Only a quiet talk with Alexandros about your next assignment. The master has prepared your transfer, He conveys with the same detached professionalism that marked every part of your training. You will receive a small inheritance, along with letters of recommendation for service in a senatorial household. Your education and field prepare you for roles in administration or teaching. The irony is harsh. Your exploitation has gifted you with abilities valued in the legitimate world only because those skills were refined through years of mistreatment. Your training in languages, literature, and social etiquette opens many doors, yet each chance serves as a reminder of how you earned these credentials. Your impeccable manners and natural respect for authority make you a perfect subordinate, but these qualities were instilled through intense psychological conditioning. Freedom, in your case, feels less like true liberation, more like disorientation, after years of having every moment planned and every decision made for you. The burden of making your own choices becomes intimidating. You have been conditioned to predict others' wishes so deeply that recognizing your own desires feels almost impossible. The world beyond the villa is enormous and full of opportunities, yet you lack the mental framework to navigate it independently. The other boys you leave behind embody the various paths you might have taken. Some will adjust well to their new realities, converting survival tactics into lawful achievements. Others will face difficulties, adapting unable to operate without the rigid structure that once governed their lives. A few will never leave aging into roles like Alexandros, who become part of the very system that molded them. As you leave the villa for the final time, you carry with you not only the knowledge and skills that will shape your future, but also the wounds, both visible and hidden, that may never fully heal. Your tale joins countless others like it that Roman historians chose to ignore, silencing voices in a civilization that preferred to celebrate its triumphs rather than confront its dark truths. The empire responsible for this system eventually collapsed, but not before generations of boys like you endured its machinery of desire. Their names are lost, their experiences overlooked as mere side notes to grander stories of conquest and cultural glory. Yet their pain was genuine, their endurance extraordinary, and their stories deserve more than to be remembered solely as the cost of Roman grandeur. In the end, you become both a victim and a survivor, shaped by uncontrollable forces, but never wholly defined by them. The boy taken from a Celtic hillside and the man who finally left the Roman villa free are linked by an unbroken thread of identity that no amount of training could completely break. That thread, fragile as it sometimes seemed, represents the fundamental essence of human dignity that even the most advanced systems of exploitation cannot fully erase. The marble halls are now deserted, the golden doors have crumbled, and the empire that institutionalized such abuse has long since turned to dust. Yet by remembering, we keep alive the human stories that history almost forgot. These overlooked voices demand recognition as we reflect on the human toll behind what history often praises as the progress of civilization. We pay tribute not only to their pain, but also to our duty to identify similar patterns whenever they appear in the present day. The faces may shift and the methods transform, yet the core reality persists. Those in positions of authority continuously seek ways to take advantage of those who lack it, especially when youth and attractiveness are factors. Their hidden lives were never truly concealed. Instead, they were deliberately ignored by those unwilling to acknowledge the truth. By sharing their stories now, we make sure their suffering does not fade into insignificance, and perhaps in some measure, we help to stop others from following those same illuminated hallways toward doors that should never open for children under any circumstance. Hit like, share your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed.